Welcome to this explainer. Life has this really predictable habit of throwing super expensive curveballs at us exactly when we least expect them, usually at the absolute worst possible moment, right? Well, today, we're going to break down the exact steps you need to take to build your ultimate financial safety net completely from scratch. So, if you've ever felt overwhelmed by financial jargon, or honestly just unsure of where to even begin, don't worry about it. We're keeping this entirely visual, highly structured, and straight to the point. Let's just dive right in. So, what if you lost your job tomorrow? Could you actually survive 3 months without borrowing any money? It's kind of a terrifying question. Honestly, most people break into a cold sweat just thinking about it. In fact, studies show nearly half of all adults couldn't even cover a $400 unexpected expense without putting it on a credit card and going into debt. Living on that kind of financial edge creates this constant, underlying hum of anxiety. But addressing this reality head-on with a really clear, systematic action plan, that is your very first step toward achieving true financial peace.
Okay, here's our agenda for today. We're going to cover 1. The ultimate financial safety net. 2. Finding your target number. 3. Where to store your cash. 4. Building it on a budget. And finally, 5. Common mistakes to avoid.
Let's start with Section 1, the ultimate financial safety net.
So what is this exactly? An emergency fund is simply a reserve of cash set aside strictly for unplanned crises. We're talking about, that terrifying clunking sound your car suddenly makes on the highway, a massive unexpected medical bill, or a sudden layoff at work. The really crucial point here is that this fund is a defensive shield. It's exclusively designed for true, unforeseeable life crises. It is definitely not for upgrading your phone, not for holiday gifts, and absolutely not for booking a spontaneous weekend getaway. It just sits quietly in the background, serving literally one purpose: keeping a really bad day from turning into a decade-long cycle of debt.
And this is an absolutely vital distinction to make. We need to separate this specific safety net from the rest of your money. Your emergency fund needs to be highly liquid, easily accessible, and entirely crisis-focused. On the flip side, your standard savings or investments are growth-focused. Those funds are often tied up for months or even years because they're built for long-term wealth accumulation. With an emergency fund, quick accessibility must always take priority over maximum growth. I mean, think about it. When your transmission blows out on a Tuesday, you can't exactly ask a mechanic to wait a week for a stock sale to clear, right? You need cash, and you need it right then.
It's incredibly easy to understand why we need one of these funds, but actually getting there, that's a whole different story. So why do we consistently fail to save? Well, psychological barriers are huge here. First off is lifestyle inflation. You get a raise at work, and suddenly that luxury gym membership feels like an absolute necessity. We basically subconsciously expand our spending to perfectly match our new income. Then there's that super dangerous "it won't happen to me" mindset, where we just assume the storm clouds only rain on other people. But honestly, perhaps the biggest hurdle is simply a lack of a clear, automated system to save. We all have these great intentions on the first of the month, but without a dedicated framework in place, somehow that money just mysteriously vanishes by the 30th.
All right, let's move into Section 2, finding your target number. 3 to 6. That right there is the magic range. The golden rule of personal finance dictates that your fund really must cover between 3 to 6 months of your absolute essential living expenses. And it's 3 to 6 months because, well, it generally takes the average person right around that amount of time to find a new job that matches their previous salary if they get laid off. Notice the word essential here, though. We're talking about literally just keeping the lights on. Rent, groceries, utilities, and minimum debt payments. We are definitely not calculating dining out, entertainment, or subscription boxes for this number.
Now, where you actually fall in that 3 to 6 month range comes completely down to your personal risk profile. It's not one size fits all. If you have a highly stable dual-income household with no dependents, your risk is mathematically a lot lower, which pushes you toward that leaner 3-month target. If one of you loses a job, hey, the other income still keeps the ship afloat. But if you're a single-income freelance worker with fluctuating monthly pay and kids to feed, you naturally carry a lot more risk, so you should absolutely aim for the full 6 months. You really have to tailor this target entirely to your own reality.
Okay, on to Section 3, where to store your cash.
Once you've actually calculated that exact target number, the next critical step is figuring out the best location to park this cash so it's ready the very second you need it. You have to carefully weigh the balance between liquidity, meaning how fast you can actually get your hands on your money, against the returns, or growth. A standard savings account gives you very high liquidity and instant access, but pretty terrible growth. On the other hand, slightly better returns from liquid mutual funds or fixed deposits come with some serious caveats. Mutual funds might take a day or two to transfer, and fixed deposits could hit you with a penalty fee if you withdraw early. For a true emergency fund, instant access is almost always the smartest play. Just think of it as paying a small growth penalty in exchange for absolute, unbreakable peace of mind. Which brings us to Section 4, building it on a budget.
Knowing where to put the money is awesome, but let's tackle the biggest hurdle of all. How do you systematically pile up this cash when money is already tight? Enter the famous 50-30-20 budgeting rule. This is a total game changer. It shows you exactly how to carve up your paycheck so saving becomes entirely non-negotiable. 50% covers your absolute needs, 30% is allocated for your wants and lifestyle, and a strict 20% is funneled directly into savings. By adopting this structure, you're embracing the philosophy of paying yourself first, guaranteeing your safety net grows before you even have the chance to blow that money on anything else.
But look, to successfully hit that 20% mark every single month, willpower alone simply isn't going to cut it. You need systems. You have to put your savings on absolute autopilot, so the transfer happens the exact day you get paid. Out of sight, out of mind, right? If you don't see the money in your checking account, you won't spend it. Also, maybe consider a temporary sprint. Grab a weekend freelance gig, drive for a rideshare app, or just sell some old stuff gathering dust in your garage, and funnel 100% of that extra cash directly into the fund. And finally, actively hunt down specific, non-essential expenses to cut, like those streaming subscriptions you never watch, just until the fund is fully stocked.
Finally, let's look at Section 5, common mistakes to avoid.
We need to establish some essential guardrails here to ensure you don't accidentally sabotage your hard-earned progress. There are 3 critical mistakes that can instantly derail your safety net. First, the absolute worst thing you can do is gamble these funds in volatile stocks or crypto. If the overall market crashes the exact same week your company decides to do layoffs, which totally happens, your safety net vanishes precisely when you need it most. Second, please don't stash physical cash under your mattress. It literally loses value to inflation every single year and is incredibly vulnerable to theft or a house fire. And lastly, whatever you do, do not forget to top the account back up after you use it. If you survive a major emergency, amazing, the fund did its job. But your immediate priority the very next month has to be replenishing that fund back up to its full capacity.
So, let's wrap this all up with the most vital question of all. Based on your essential monthly expenses, what is your exact 3 to 6 month target amount? Because knowing your specific number is the most empowering step in this entire process. It takes this vague, scary anxiety and transforms it into a highly solvable math equation. Now that you have a complete action plan, I want you to crunch the numbers tonight, share your target amount in the comments below, and kickstart your journey toward unshakable financial resilience. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. Get out there, get calculating, and as always, stay curious.